working with your standard centre profile line and your radial sections. We're going to break those down into 2 sections and we're going to alternate those. So we'll have section A. Trying to be gentle on the mirror now. And we'll have section B. Primarily because we don't want to go through and lighten all of the hair. You know, with curly hair, the really important thing is to keep the integrity of the hair. And make sure we don't dry it out too much, make it fuzzy and fluffy. So this is the kind of sectioning pattern that we're going to do. So the way we're going to work is we're going to cut it into rectangles and then cut those rectangles in half rather than using 8,500 clips. Yeah? So around the face we'll do the same. Because with curly hair we want to emphasise the movement, we want to emphasise the texture, we're going to use the sections around the face as our accent sections. So we're going to be colouring in section A.
So is A the lightning section?
Yeah. Yes, that's where we're going to work it. So the wefts of hair that we're going to be working on today, this is my weft of hair. We're going to be working in the curve of the hair. Okay? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a lightening product. So you can either use Magma or Free Lights or Blondor, depending on what you like. I think we decided on Magma today, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're going to be working in this section of the hair, and we're going to be working in a really feathered kind of technique to emphasise the bend in the hair. So what we want to do is when the sunlight shines on the hair, you want to see the twist of colour. You don't want to see the ribbons. It's more of a soft muted blend. Okay? So we're really working with the feathering today and working with the texture in the brush.
So you're only colouring in that bend section?
That's right.
And you leave the rest of the section on natural?
So what we'll do is we'll work with alumina as the base colour. We'll go through and apply the base first, get that done quite quickly, and then we'll stretch it down with the comb. And then when you flip the comb and draw the colour down, which I'll show you, and then we'll work the magma into that. So that, because of curly hair's natural movement, we'll actually have a few different points on the hair where we'll colour.
Okay.
So if you comb it flat, you can see where the general bend is. So perhaps we might colour in that little section there, and in that little section there.
Cool.
And really work with emphasising that texture and movement. Okay, so on this side we're going to do alumina, 6-76 and 6%. And on this side, just to see the contrast and the difference in quality of the colour, we're going to use alumina, 6-76 again with 1.9% mixed 1 to 2. Okay? Yeah. So what difference do you think we'll get between the two bases?
Could be a bit stronger on this side, I guess.
So stronger, more intense colour?
Yeah, maybe a bit more consistency.
Yeah? Yeah? What else? What else happens when you use 6%? Sorry, 40 questions.
Get lift.
Exactly right. So do you think we might see a little more warmth on this side?
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting, but I'm really curious to see it also. So I think what might happen, because we're just depositing with 1.9, we're going to see a bit more richness and intensity on this side, and a little bit more warmth and variation of tone on this side. But let's see. So normally when we're sectioning we wouldn't really advise that you comb the colour out quite so much, but because the technique that we're doing actually has a root stretch incorporated into it, that's great for our purposes today. So creating a radial section, so working from the top of the head through to the ear. Sand is beautiful, curls make it interesting to get through there. We've got our centre profile line and our radial section. And now what we're going to do, we'll isolate this away. So we've made a rectangular section there, and we'll go through and we'll make a triangle. First, know how to drag colour through safely. So by putting it in, tail comb in, and then flipping it and drawing the product down the hair, you actually draw a very small amount down the hair. So what we're actually doing is we're taking a little colour from there and moving it down so that we can put our technique in, which we're just going to mix up now. So by pushing it back up, you'll see where the bend is in the hair. So where do you think we'll do our section? And there?
Yeah.
And there?
And there.
Beautiful. Don't film that bit. So we're using the paddle and the angled brush, and we're working in this section here, and we're just making it really uneven, really textured, and quite, I guess for so many years we've all been used to working so structured. This is definitely more of a colour by feel and a process. What we don't want is for there to be any solid lines or any start or finish of the colour. So actually what I was worrying about, that it had got on those little bits of hair, is actually a good thing. That's kind of what we want, to create that softness and that texture. So the worst thing with a colour like this is when it's blobs and then it just looks like banding.
Yeah.
So again, working with that diagonal forward angle.
And so you take the whole section, so it's not going to go through the whole section.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where free lights, you probably take smaller sections, but this.
That's
yeah.
it. So we're really only colouring the top surface of the hair, except for certain parts where we're pushing it through. So that, again, this whole technique is about giving diversity of result, really. So applying colour and drawing it down. Applying to your reservoir so you don't forget. Really working it up in places and into your permanent colour. And working with those little bits that grab the colour, those little naughty pieces. And so we'll keep it at a similar level, as in distance from the scalp on this section, and on the next section we'll vary it and perhaps we'll work on that lower kind of section now. So this section through here, all of that will be coloured on the surface, but everything that's down a little bit lower will have the colour pressed through it a little more. So then for this section, depending on what you want to do, you can just comb colour through and stretch it down a little way. Great for those ombre kind of techniques where you want to have a little colour filtering through and you want it to not be as dense on the mid-lengths and ends.
Okay, so you wouldn't mix up more. That's all you do. You just comb it through.
Depending on what length you have, but yeah,
Obviously, if it was really long, you'd have to mix up a bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can just stretch it down, and because the hair's beautiful and curly, it'll isolate itself over to the side. Easy. And then we'll just work in a similar pattern up the head.
Yeah, so do you just then do like a rectangle from the ear to there? So is it like 4 rectangles basically?
So we'll work another rectangle just here,
Yeah.
and then this will become part of this top section.
Yeah.
So So we'll work another rectangle, and then we might just change up the angle.
Yeah.
So working back that way, just because we can, for no particular reason.
Cool.
Obviously, when I started playing with this technique, one thing that I realised quite quickly was that your larger side of the triangle, if you put that towards the face, you see more colour around the face. If you were working your brightness in this section, where your point is...
Yeah, you won't have as much around the face.
Correct. So
Yeah.
depending on what you want.
Depending what you're after, yeah.
So again, comb through, draw the colour down a little way. And then we might work through this section a little bit more. So by working through this section where the colour's a little further away from the scalp, we're going to get more intensity of tone
Yeah.
and much more lightness because we're not having to compete with this colour here.
And if you were going to put it where you're going to put the magma, you wouldn't comb that down as far if you were going to put the magma up.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So depending on what you wanted, in this section we've kind of worked it up a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Got the freedom with this technique to alter it to your client.
Yeah.
Would you guys let it go?
Yeah.
Oh, did we?
Really briefly.
Just long enough for it to make a lot of people very. So where would
So
you start?
about there and there.
Yep, beautiful.
So would you paint there and then paint down here and leave that little bit in the middle there?
So what I would do is I'd actually take it from there to there.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah.
apply the majority of your product. I just want to point with my comb because it'll be more clear. Apply the majority of your product in here
Okay.
and use this space and this space for feathering.
Stretch, yeah. Okay.
If someone wanted to jump on the other side, we could work
Together?
two people at the same time.
Not to walk around.
So when you're feathering,
Yeah.
if you utilise your brush with this end
Oh, okay, yeah.
up higher, and actually, do you mind if I show you?
Yeah, no, of course.
So if we are working with this, it's actually much easier to use the feather
And see
point of
this
the
is on
brush.
the end of the hair as well.
Gives you a bit of tension, makes it a lot easier. You notice how before I was getting the colour on the ends?
Yeah.
If you hold it like this. And then you can just kind of feather it down. And we're not using a lot of product.
Okay.
So the more product you use when you're doing a feather type technique, the more chance you've got of bleeding
Oh, okay, yeah.
or causing smudges that you don't particularly want to create. And what we're really focusing on here, because we've got this beautiful tension, is creating no blobs in the hair. We really want to make sure that it all just kind of flows from point A to point B. So our front sections would be like this. And this will be, again, product A, or section A.
And so obviously if you did this with free lights, it'd just give you a nice goldy tone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And obviously when we get to the back, we're keeping these the same because we don't want to have any blobbiness on top. Then the darkness will filter over.
Yeah.
A few ways to approach that.
I do really useful. I set that on the side, but I promise.
It's good, isn't it? Once you get used to it.
I think my thing was free lights was when you go
Achieve pinkier results. Just add more red.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's our peach.
So it was always going to be soft, wasn't it? The pink, like.
Yeah, it was always going to be a pastel pink, but you know, we've got the recipe for a hot pink.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But if we say left that on for, say, another half an hour,
Yeah,
would that have gone more pink
of
or
course.
not?
Yeah, definitely
It
would.
Yeah.
Because what we did, we've chopped the processing time in half.
Yeah.
So we've not allowed those molecules to develop fully.
Yeah.
So would it have been like pink?
But it wouldn't be like that. It would have still just been very, very. And if you used lesser peroxide,
Mm-hmm.
would it be more intense or not? No, because it wouldn't have lifted it enough to
That's
get
right.
that pink. That's right, because it hasn't gone so pink because it hasn't lifted it to a lighter level to get that
Exactly
that
right.
pinky
And is
base.
it also because of the depth that we are as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pastel pinks are always going to look brighter on lighter hair.
Yeah.
So working on something that's darker, you're going to have a bit more softness in your tone.
But I love the result of it.
While you're doing it, you're going, I'm not quite sure where I can use this, but once you see it, there's so many curly hair clients who'd be up for having something like this.